So, Representative Furniss, can I ask you, if you were to describe how the session has been just in this last week, how would you describe it in one word?
One word, let's see. I would say it's been interesting.
Okay, in what ways has it been interesting so far?
Well, we've got, I'm on JFAC, so I do all the budgets. And we've got an interesting year this year with budgets in that we have probably a cash shortfall this year in the state, and we don't print money in the state of Idaho, so we have to balance our books. And we have several new people on JFAC, and it's a Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee. And so we've got to make sure that all of our books balance. And we've had to make some cuts, and some of those cuts have been dramatic, especially in the health and welfare side, where we do the Medicaid cuts, and specifically mental health. And we've had to cut back on some of those items. However, and that was preliminarily. However, in the month of December, we had a record-setting income month, where we thought we were $40 million in the hole. We're now $100 million out of the hole. And so that changes things on our end, and possibly, and I'm also on the Economic Outlook and Revenue Assessment Committee, where we set the revenue number for the budget, and we were able to set that a little bit higher this year based on that December month. And so we do have a little bit of money that we can allocate back to probably health and welfare and some other places where we hope to be able to continue to fund critical programs in the state of Idaho.
Yeah, so Representative Furniss, some people might hear that and be a little bit confused, whereas if you're going to have the money to allocate back to health and welfare, why did you have to make those cuts in the first place? What would you say to them?
We made the cuts in the 1st of December before we received the revenue numbers. And many people in the legislature like to have a comfortable balance in their checking account. We usually like to keep about $200 million in that checking account for rainy days and things like that. And so now we've got to come back and implement those programs. It takes a lot of talking and understanding, and a lot of people in the legislature, especially in Idaho, we're very conservative, and so anytime we can save a buck, that we think we can save a buck, we try to do that. However, sometimes we maybe get over our skis and cut too much. So we'll have that discussion, we'll have that debate, and we'll go down that road.
So you talked about some of the cuts that have already been made and that they've affected some areas, specifically health and welfare, you'd said. How does the committee make the decision on where to cut things, what to cut, and that kind of thing? How is that decision made?
The committee, actually in this case, health and welfare, the director of health and welfare made those cuts in December. They didn't ask the legislature about those cuts. Those were cuts they were able to make without our input, if you will. And so now that we've come back and we've discovered that, and we know that those cuts were made, the legislature can then decide to put those back into motion, if you will. And we would need to do that by vote and help the director understand how important we feel those programs are. Some people don't feel those programs are as important. I've met with sheriffs and county officials, and really when you cut mental health, sometimes that's just a cost shift back to the counties, because if we have individuals that are schizophrenic or severe mentally handicapped that are living in our community, sometimes they end up in our jails, and that just costs the public more money than we were able to save. And so we need to weigh those costs, and we'll do that in the legislature, and we'll take a hard look at those. We're receiving a lot of emails from families, at least I am, from families that have issues with mental health, maybe with their children or spouses. And those need to be addressed.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a delicate balancing act for sure. How long do you think that budget negotiations may go on this session?
We're hoping to be done by the third week in March, and I think we will. We all have elections that we have to get back to, and so we're motivated to get those budgets in and out. Part of the budget process problem is that last year we passed some significant tax decreases. We gave a $50 million tax credit to private schools. We did a grocery tax credit for those that buy groceries in Idaho. We allow them to buy tax-free groceries if they file an income tax return with Idaho. We gave military a pension break. They don't pay taxes on their military pay. We had tax reduction from about 3% on tax reduction, and we eliminated capital gains on gold. And when we did all that, it was about a $450 million decrease in taxes, which is phenomenal for Idaho. And in Idaho, we balance our books. We have our rainy day funds. Our savings accounts are full, according to statute. So we're in good shape. And then Congress over in Washington, D.C. did something that was just as amazing. They passed the Big Beautiful Bill. I don't know if you've heard of that before. Mm-hmm. But what that did is that allowed more income tax cuts. It lowered the tax rates for federal taxes. It also increased what's called the standard deduction. It gave a child tax credit. There's no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Now we're able to tax deduct loans on cars. Seniors don't have to pay tax, or they get a credit on their Social Security tax. Many other things happened, and with that, Idaho received less money than they normally would because we tax based on our federal income. And so if our federal income taxes go down, Idaho's revenue also went down, and that caused a revenue shortfall in Idaho, and that's what's caused a lot of the cuts. So we hope to be able to weather out this storm. We see our revenues coming in stronger than we anticipated, but at the end of the day, we will balance our budget, and we have to make hard decisions on cuts. We'll do that. But right now, we're sitting pretty good, and we think we'll get through it.
Yeah. And I know the budget has definitely been a very important topic so far this session. And as someone who's working on that committee to balance the budget, can I ask what has been like the general consensus on the governor's proposed Enduring Idaho plan for that budget?
We're gonna fund that Enduring Idaho plan. In fact, I have that right here in front of me, and it's a great plan. It's a great budget. When they made that budget, however, they make those budgets in November and earlier, and so when they made those budgets, we didn't have as much money, and the governor only left $32 million in the at the end of the day in the bank account with that plan. But now I think we're going to be able to fund it. You know, Idaho sits really well. We're the lowest unemployment in the region. We're the number one nation and nationally for percentage growth and income. You know, we're one of the top states from population and job growth. And we really have a robust economy in Idaho, and so we'll be able to weather the storm and give the governor his endurance plan, and I think we'll be able to balance the budget as well.
Amazing. Well, I know balancing the budget is no small feat, but shifting gears just a little bit, is there any other legislation that you are working on or looking forward to helping pass this session?
You know, we're looking at a lot of different things. I'm helping on many bills, but one that I'm hoping we get through is we currently don't have included in our abortion laws the health of the mother. So we'd like to include that. It's costing us doctors, and Idaho is 50th in the nation already in doctor per capita or population, and so we need to invite doctors into Idaho. One of the things that's stopping that is is our abortion law that we have hasn't been tested by anyone, and so their doctors are afraid to come into Idaho because of that. We need to include the health of the mother, and we need to relieve the doctors from liability if they have to perform an abortion where the fetus is not viable. And those are some of the things that we need to get done. But we also have, other things. I have an insurance plan to reduce fees. We have the Medicaid cuts I've talked about. We also have water. I'm a big advocate for more storage water in Idaho. We're looking to make sure that continually gets funded. We want to increase the water storage in Idaho, maybe increase the dams. We can raise dams up and we can create new dams. We're looking at actually rebuilding the Teton Dam that wiped out Rexburg in 1976.
Yes,
and,
yeah.
We would like to rebuild that dam. And actually, Rexburg is in favor. The mayor of Rexburg, the city council, they're all in favor of rebuilding that dam. The city of Sugar City, who was totally wiped out, that mayor is in favor. It would be an economic boon to this community to rebuild that dam, and it would also give us enough water that farmers would never have to worry about being shut off again like they were last year. So we think that's a big thing. I just got back from Washington, D.C., meeting with the congressional delegation there. We met with all of them. They were very kind to us. They gave us plenty of time, and we took 6,000 signatures back to Washington, D.C., saying they would like to store more water in Idaho and rebuild the dam. So it's a serious proposal. We're moving forward on it. We hope to have some traction there.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you are definitely going to keep yourself busy this session. But my last question for you is there any legislation moving through the House that you're aware of or that might be coming up that you think would be detrimental to Idahoans that you would fight against?
Oh, I hope not. I hope that the legislators would not bring something detrimental to Idaho. We have a great bunch, and the people of Idaho elect fine legislators. I don't know of anyone bringing something that would be detrimental to Idaho. There's always legislators that would like to spend more money or would like to keep the tax cuts. But overall, we'll find consensus, and we'll find the middle of the road, and we'll get something done there. And that's exciting to me. So.
Well, amazing. It sounds like Idahoans have many reasons to be optimistic for this year and for this legislative session. And again, Representative Furniss, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me.
Oh, you bet. Thank you for the call. Anytime.
Thank you so much again. And thank you for the work that you do representing our state.
Oh, thank you kindly. Appreciate that.